The first warning sign that I had any sort of mental health issues really would have to go back to my childhood. My parents would have been mystified, and still are to this day, how I would either be laughing on my own or talking a lot on my own in my bed at night or in my room on my own. And I suppose you can chalk that down to an imaginary friend or whatever. And I suppose from there on then, as a teenager and a young man, really, I met somebody who I hadn't seen for a long time, and they said, "That's right, you were a tormented young fella." And I did have to go to the doctor when I was before my intracert, for tablets for my nerves, So that would have been at the age maybe of 13 or 14. I suppose whatever coping mechanisms I had, they began to kind of conflict with the world around me. When I was old enough, to go to pubs and drink, and I felt, that there was pressure coming on in my head, or there was too much going on for me, or that I just couldn't handle it. Like I would bury it in alcohol, and I would try and sedate myself and drink to forget, and use alcohol to self-medicate, and drugs as well. When I think back now on coping mechanisms that have helped me with my mental health problems, I suppose there were a lot of things that were natural to me that were absolutely symptomatic of my illness in the eyes of doctors. Like, I remember one of the things that I would do every now and again is that I would get up at 4:30 in the morning, come down, boil the kettle, and make tea for 6 people. There weren't 6 people there was 6 voices in my head. And we would try and have a discussion about where things were at. Why were they intruding so much? Why were they so loud? I couldn't really tell that to a mental health professional, because really and truly it's fairly symptomatic of madness. You did what? You made tea for your imaginary friends. But at one point, I found myself under enormous stress, and really and truly I couldn't cope. I couldn't differentiate what was happening inside my head with reality of what was going on around me. And I wanted to escape. I didn't want to feel like that anymore. And I had coping mechanisms that weren't necessarily good. They were good for me, they worked for me, but they weren't really that good. So what I did was I cut myself, and I allowed the pain via the blood flowing from the cut to leave me, and I actually felt relief at this. Now, that's how I felt. That never got portrayed to those around me. I never got to explain that. I wasn't in a state to explain it. So you can imagine what you saw there. What was seen there was there's my husband, and he's cutting his wrists. I have to call the doctor. The doctor, who doesn't know me very well, who has no idea of this type of coping, says, "Oh dear, he better come into hospital. Will he come into hospital? No, we better call the guards." Now, this is me imagining what others were doing and saying at that time, but the effect of that was that I found myself in my kitchen on that morning with 5 guards in stab vests surrounding me. After that time, I was hospitalised from my own home. I met Dr. Pat Bracken, and I suppose I received care in a different way than I had previously. The best example I can give you of that is one day I was meeting Pat for an appointment, and I said to him, I don't like medication, I don't want to take it. I said, being honest with you, I won't stay taking it. It's always been a problem of mine with the services that I've been non-compliant. So I said, what are we going to do? And Dr. Pat Bracken, he said to me, I don't know, but we can try to find out. And when Pat said that to me, what happened was that I said, oh my God, you know, the expert doesn't have all the answers. I'm going to have to try and do something about this myself. And so with the little bit of knowledge and experience that I had previously, and I had worked really hard in loads of areas myself, like with regard to personal development and that whole concept like of personal responsibility and awareness. I suppose coupled with a service provider who was open to input from me as much as he was an expert. He was willing to listen. I took that and ran with it. I'm at a point now really where I'm very comfortable with all of myself. I'm very comfortable with my person now. You know, I know that I don't see the world in a straightforward way. I know that I don't necessarily fit into it in that kind of everyday construction that we have. I have that perspective that comes from those traumas or those parts of me that I wasn't able to accept. But now I can, and you know, I still hear voices. I still have crisis with my mental health, but I accept them as a part of me. And when I have a bad day, it's all right. People have bad days. It doesn't have to turn into a psychotic breakdown. And I don't have to kill myself. I don't have to run off and offer myself to a lock ward, which I've done in the past. Please let me in. Why did I ever say that? But I did, and I was glad for it at the time, actually. But I'm much happier now that I can actually engage with my mental health as just a part of the jigsaw that makes up all of me.